Hello friends, I hope everybody's doing well, and welcome to part 2 of the Gravely C8 engine replacement. If you saw part 1, you could clearly see that the cylinder block here is cracked. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to part 1. I'll put it in the comments, and I'll also put it in the description. So what I did so far was I took the higher compression head off this tractor here, and we'll walk over to the other tractor, the donor engine. Okay, so a few things that I did wrong that I should have done was, first of all, I should have replaced the bolts, put brand new bolts in there, and I should have also chased the threads. Did the bolts bolt into the block? I should have did that. I did have a problem with this head bolt here, and what I did was I used the tap, and I tapped out the hole and stuck the bolt in there. One of my commenters said, and he's right, that I should have used a thread chaser instead of the tap. The tap is too harsh. The tap is actually to cut new threads, when you have to bolt something in. But I was able to manage to get this to where it tightened up pretty good here. And also what I did was these two end bolts here, I just did it just a couple of minutes ago. These two end bolts here have spacers on them, and this is where the heat shield goes over the top of the head here. So I cleaned up the bolts, and I used the little WD-40 on them, and they screwed in pretty good. So I used anti-seize on all the bolts. So when we go, it'll be like the last thing we do. When I go to put the heat shield on, I'll just put a little bit of anti-seize on these bolts. It seems like with these Gravely's and probably anything else, the closer you get to the exhaust here, the hotter everything gets. And that's when you usually have a problem trying to get the bolts out if you ever want to pull a head off. Another thing I did here, I got this tractor late last summer, and this is the 54L, and the reason why I want to use this engine off this is I want to get the 8-speed, the C8. I'm going to be keeping that, and I want to put a good engine on that. And to get this one running, this had a Waco magneto in it, and it had no spark, of course, so I took the points out, I cleaned the points real good, and then I re-gapped them. Now let's go back over to the other machine. Okay, so the same thing happened with the C8 here. It had no spark. This has a Fairbanks Morse magneto on it. I took the points out and I cleaned them, but when I went to gap the points, I wasn't sure what the gap was, and I know the points are gapped wrong, but I'd rather have the Waco magneto on this tractor. So I'm going to have to take this magneto off here and put it on the other one. Now, I notice with the 50s and 60s Gravely's, these have two bolts to go in from the bottom, and I'm always able to use my 1/4-inch ratchet with a shallow 9/16 socket. With this, it's a 1973. I guess they changed the casting on the transmission or whatever happened, and it's really hard to get these bolts loose. I have to use like an open-end wrench, and when I first took it off, I noticed the 14mm, because I had to use an open end, fit on the bolt better. I was able to bust them loose. So I'm going to be taking this magneto off. What else? Oh yeah, something with the oil pressure. If you look here, it has like an elbow that goes into the lower end of the block here, and it comes up here. All right, so we're going to be using this whole setup here. Now on the other tractor, I want to show you this tractor here, the 54. It had oil pressure, but it read on the low side all the time. And I noticed on this one here, let me get this stupid thing out of the way. I noticed on this one here, where the heck's the oil line go in? Oh, the oil line goes in here. Okay, so what this had was a T. You screwed it one part of the fitting into here, and it teed off. And one side came from up here, and then it ran to the T, and then from the T it ran down here. I'm pretty sure that's what's responsible for the lower oil pressure. But we're going to be putting everything back together on the C8 from all the C8 oil lines and all that. I just wanted to point that out real quick. Okay, so in today's video, what I'm going to do is, being that everything's wide open and this is the engine that we're going to be using, okay, this is the valve cover here. So what I'm going to do, which of course the engine's cold, you always want to adjust your valves when the engine's cold. I'm going to pull this cover off. I'll do that on camera, and then I'll do the other side off camera, and it would make a lot of sense to make sure that the valve adjustment's proper. I'll have to just recheck and make sure that the piston is at top dead center, because you want the valves closed when you do this. So I'm going to get set up for that, and we'll adjust the valves. Okay, these are a little tough for me to film here. Okay, so if you could see, I'll do it with the flashlight. Up here you'll see the valve spring keeper, and then below that you'll see something that looks like a bolt. Okay, so that's a 7/16 lifter, and it comes up. And what you want to do is you want to adjust that to where you have between this bolt head, let's say, and the valve, you want 5 thousandths. Yeah, 5 thousandths you gap it at. Okay, right now I checked the gap, and it's way over. It's way too big to gap. Not way. Well, in torquing valves, it's way too much. So what you're going to want to do is, you're going to want to take a 7/16 wrench, and you want to turn this out like you're unscrewing a bolt from the bottom here, until you get the 5 thousandths between the valve and the lifter here. So what I'm going to do is I'll just set the camera back up, and I'll just show you how I do it. I don't know how much of this you'll be able to see what I'm doing, but okay, so I'm going to take my 5 thousandths feeler gauge and stick it in there. You can see how that's really loose in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wrench, and then I'm just going to start screwing this out, if I can get the wrench on there the right way. I don't know, I'm having trouble moving this thing even. Let me get this thing to work, and then I'll be right back to you. Okay, I got the wrench on there so I can turn this. So what you're doing is you're unscrewing this now from the bottom to the top. And there's very little room to get in here. Like, this is a pain to do, for me anyway. Alright, let's see what that... I mean, sometimes you don't have to turn it much, and then you gotta... Yeah, see, I could still put this in there pretty... The valves are really loose on this. You just turn that a little bit, and then it's might be too tight now. I might have to go down with it. Let's see what that does. Still a little more. Just a teeny bit more. I might have had it right the first time when I turned it out before. It's still a little loose right there, so I'm just gonna give it a little more this way. Okay. Okay, that feels pretty good to me. So we're gonna just leave it at that. And then luckily the valve cover gasket's still good. I don't have any gaskets for this. So in the worst case I would have had to RTV the cover back on, which I hate to do. I don't know, it seems a little too loose to me right now. There's a fine line here. Alright, I'm comfortable with that. That should be okay. What you could do is to just keep the feeler gauge in there, and now it just feels too tight, and just back it off until you can pull it back out easy. Okay, so to me that's good. Yeah, that's the mistake I made when I was explaining it to you. Like, it was too loose before. If you just leave the gauge in here and just get the wrench in there and just turn it until you feel it's too tight, just back it off a little bit so you can slide your gauge in and out easy. Okay, so that's enough on that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the cover back on this side. I'll do the other side off camera. I'm going to take this engine off camera, and since we're working on the C8, then we'll start taking that one apart. Oh boy, friends, check this out. I took the 3 bolts out that was holding the engine on the 54 here. And look at all these chunks of metal here. I don't know what's up with that. The engine came off pretty easy after I took the bolts out. I don't know if it came off of around here. I don't know. I hope it didn't get into the bottom end. I don't know. I'm not sure. I just wanted to show you that right now. Never saw this happen before. You know? I know the engine is a newer engine, made it to this old transmission here, but I don't know what could have happened. But this is, I pull the engine off and this is what I see here. I see this metal chunks. Nothing looks like it's broken around here. I don't know. I guess let's go on. I'll set up the other tractor and we'll pull the engine off that and just hope for the best with this thing. Oh boy, that's one thing I didn't want to see right there. Okay, let's move on. Well, I don't think anything got in the engine. Where I showed you that hole where it looks like there was metal missing off that round hole, I stuck a magnet down in there, and there was I didn't pull no metal out. So I don't know what happened, how that happened. Okay, so on this one here, we'll start taking this apart. I'll take the starter cable off, and then I'll undo the starter. We'll get this one apart. Just hope for the best with that. When I got that tractor, it looked like it was cannibalized to begin with. There's a lot of things I didn't like on that tractor when I saw. What I did was I undid the starter cable from the starter switch here to begin with. I'm just putting a nut back on there so we don't lose anything. So I guess I don't have to use the air ratchet here. And for this we'll be using a 9/16 socket and a wrench. Try to do this without knocking the camera over. See how far we could get with this today. I'm just going to stick the nuts and bolts back in the starter so we know where everything is here. And then we'll go around to the other side and I'll pull the carburetor off because we're going to be using everything off this tractor for the donor engine. Next I'll take off the air cleaner here and the air cleaner hose. Yeah, so I got a little discouraged when I saw that metal. I don't know, I don't know, I just hope for the best. I really don't think it got into the engine, you know? Screw this back on here so we don't lose it. I have to remember to tighten this whole thing up. I don't know if it was on this one or the L8. I don't remember. I don't remember which one it was. Now I'll take this hose off here. I'll probably just make a video disassembling it, and maybe I'll make a video putting the engine back on this one. I don't know, we'll see. Because it's just reverse procedure of what I'm doing now. Oh, shit. These are the original clamps too, right here. That's pretty cool. Hope I didn't rip the hose. I don't think so. Now this is. Oh, I replaced this hose. I used the car hose. These hoses cost like $60 or $70 or something. I think I paid $12 or whatever it was. And I just cut it down to size. I think it was off I ordered one for a Plymouth Voyager or a Dodge Caravan or something like that, and it worked. I saw it on somebody else did this with the hose. It wasn't my idea. And I make sure the gas is turned off. There's no clamp on this. Okay, we got that off. Now we have a clip here that holds the rod to the governor here. So we're going to want to take that off next. And make sure I don't lose that clip, because I lost the clip once already. I don't have the right pair of pliers for this, I don't think. Pretty sure. I think I got it anyway. This has one of these clamps on it. You just put your rod through there, and you see these two clips. You clip it down on the rod, and it just holds it. Let me go put this where I'm not going to lose it. Here we go. There we go. Okay, where were we here? Now Now we want to take off the choke. We'll take that off. Just loosen this up so we get the cable out. And there's the bracket that holds the whole cable casing on. So loosen that up to get it out of the way. The whole nut's turning behind it and it's not really supposed to. But it is. Okay, so we just take the cable out, pull it out, and just let it hang here. How did that go? That way? That's a good thing. I could always watch the video if I forget something here. Okay, so then it's got one of the, oh, you know what I had to do? It has one of these stupid clips that always pop off on me. I had to put a zip tie. I put a zip tie around it to hold the cable here. So, let me go get a pair of cutters and we'll put that on. I hope you can see what I'm doing because it looks like there's a glare on the camera. Should have turned the tractor around. I really can't see what the heck I'm doing here. Too okay, that's off. And this goes on the hole behind the bracket. So we can get that out of the way. Now we have our, I don't know if you can see this far back. I have another governor rod here that has a spring on it, and I'm just going to try to twist it off here. Am I going to be able to do that? Oh, I usually can. Maybe get in there with these needle nose. Like I said, I don't know if you can even see what's going on back here, but okay, so I got that off. We don't want to lose any springs or any clips or anything. So, and I believe these bolts are that hold the carburetor on are 1/2-inch socket they'll need. So we'll bust these loose here. Should actually taken a harder one off first. I have another carburetor gasket if needed. I left the manifold on the edge that we're using, so if the gasket's stuck to this manifold, just leave it that way, I guess, or I'll peel it off or whatever I decide. So we got this one bracket here. Alright. Now I'll screw the brackets back on the carburetor here, and I'll put the carburetor off to the side. Yeah, of course it's caught on everything. The spring, this is the spring I was telling you about, goes to the governor arm. So I'm just going to bolt this back on here so everything stays together, and I'll just put it off to the side. And then I'm going to tilt the machine on its nose now. We'll take the back part off. We'll take the shroud and gas tank assembly and all that off. Can't let go of this now, otherwise I'd shut the camera off for a moment. Okay, I'll shut the camera off and then we'll get back to this. Knocking everything over. Okay, next thing we're going to do is take off the clutch sprocket here, the starter sprocket. And I made this socket and I used a 6-point impact socket. It's a 1/2-inch drive, so you can use it with the gun. And I just put this clamp on here for like moral support. So you definitely want to use a 6-point, and you definitely want to use an impact socket to make it. Now, I'll leave a link to the video on how I made this socket. It was easy to do, but you just got to watch you don't cut it wrong. So I'll put the link in the descriptions and probably in the comments too. So we're going to go ahead and take that off for now, and then we can start on getting the rest of this shroud, gas tank assembly, and all that off. Yeah, I don't think you can put it on here. Here's the problem. You can only use an open end on here, and these clutches are hard to get off. And I was doing the rope trick, and a couple of people said you could crack the head doing that. So I decided to make this. Pretty sure if I just loosen this clamp here, I can get it on there, and then we'll tighten the clamp back up. Or not. I just used it on the other one to, I don't know why this is being silly now here. I have to tap it on here. So maybe a socket bent already. I don't know. Let me get a hammer. Alright, so I got a hammer here. Should be able to just push it on there. I don't know if the socket may have gotten bent when I took the clutch off the 54. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'll worry about getting that off later. We'll just put our socket on here for moral support. Not the socket, the clamp here. Probably not really necessary, but I do anyway. Sorry about that. Should have told you to mind your ears. It's pretty stuck on there. I let the compressor build up. Let's see if it works now. Wow, it's really stuck. Oh no. Let's see if I can sort this thing out a minute. I don't have the head on, so that's not helping. Annie. Well, there goes the socket. I just exploded it. So how am I supposed to get that off now? I didn't even make it that tight when I did this. I don't understand. I don't know what I'm going to do now. Alright, I'll get back to you. Check it out, it even busted the clamp. I don't know, every one I did so far with that socket worked fine. Loosened right up. Not this. I don't know how I'm going to get that off now. I don't know. If any of you Gravely guys know where I can get the socket for taking the starter clutch off, please let me know in the comments. What I'm going to do is, since we don't care about this top end too much, I do care about the piston kind of. I'm just going to take a piece of wood and drop a piece of wood down in the cylinder here, and I'll put the head back on it, and I'll use my giant adjustable wrench to see if I can bust it loose. I don't know why this is so tight like that. I try not to tighten them up that tight, because what it has, it also has a lock bolt that you stick in here so it can't come off, but I don't know what happened. So hopefully I can get it off that way, and I'll probably do that off camera. I mean, wasting enough time with this thing as it is, and we'll see how we make out. I could probably work around it and get the engine off with the clutch still on it, but it's a good clutch. I don't want to I want to be able to get the clutch off, you know. So alright, so I'll be back to you a couple seconds or so. So I stuck the piece of wood into the cylinder here, and you can see it. I stuck the head back on it, and I used the open end wrench here, and then I used this pipe here for leverage, and I was standing on it and forcing it, and it still took a little bit to get off. I don't know why that was so tight on there. I really don't. Anyway, we're in the clear now to take the rest of this tractor apart. We're going to end this one soon, part 2 here, and I'm not going to leave a description in that socket to make that socket. It's a little dangerous, even though I used it a few times to get clutches off and I put them on. But like I said, if anybody knows where I could get the right socket for that, I'd appreciate that. Thanks, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, let's continue. I just gotta loosen these brackets down the bottom here, and then I'll loosen this tow bar. So we're gonna have to get that off too. there's two tow bar bolts under here. They go into the trans, so we'll loosen them up. I got a feeling because of the stand over here, I might have to take the tow bar completely off. So let me just loosen them up. I'll try to zip them off as quick as I can. Now how the heck did this... What kind of menagerie is this over here? Some kind of spacer here on this bottom bolt on this side. I don't know why, but it's there. So I gotta find the nut for that again. Shouldn't be too far away. I don't have a nut. Oh, the nut must have fell off. I don't know, worry about it later. This is just crazy with this thing anymore. I'm just gonna take this off. Out of sight, out of mind. I think I pushed the record button again, pretty sure. Hope so. I'll just stick the bolts back in. The tranny here. I'll put this out off to the side, I'll put it in the truck. Okay, so I'm going to take the starter bracket off here. Okay, so the starter bracket has a bushing in between here. Somebody supposed to have a longer bushing. Somebody used 2 bushings that you would use on top of the head bolts to hold the heat shield on. But it was a good idea and it works. So I probably have one off the other one. I might just use the other one. I'm not sure yet. Okay, so we just pull this bracket out off here. No, we can't because I forgot to take this starter wire off, but we could just swing that out of the way somewhere and not have to worry about it anyway, so I'll just leave it hooked up. And now we're going to take the one bolt out. We had that nut here and this holds the governor on, so we're just going to take this one bolt out on the bottom here and pull the governor off. Can't quite do that. Okay, so next time I take this one heat shield off here, and then I go around off camera and take the other one out, and I got the wrong screwdriver. Okay, I got the right one now, I think. I hope. It's a Phillips. These are Phillips heads. Hopefully it'll come loose. There should be no reason why they shouldn't, because I had this tractor apart when we put the clutch planetary in when it was stalling in low gear. So we don't have to worry about any of that, because it doesn't stall anymore. So now I gotta try not to lose these bolts here. I might have to take more of this. I know I have to take off the handlebar bolt here. Handlebar bolt, nut and bolt. I'm gonna have to take that off. And then I don't know about the shifter linkages yet. I'm gonna try to do this without losing this bolt. So I got this off here. Let's see if I get my fingers in there and pull this thing out without losing it. Got it. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna go around and take off the other heat shield. Okay, so I'm gonna take the shifter levers off. So it's just these two nuts here for the high speed. No, I did for forward and reverse, whatever. And two more nuts on this rod here. I'll take those off. I'll zip them off with the air ratchet. And then I'll just take off the levers assembly off. And then this here, the high-low range, it's just a cotter pin and a washer, and I'll just pop that off so it's just laying down out of the way. The problem is the exhaust is in the way. I can't clear the exhaust when we pull the engine off. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that off camera. Okay, so I'm at the point now where we can pull the shroud and gas tank assembly off. Another thing I want to point out is this bottom pulley here off the donor engine. It just more or less just fell off. So I'm assuming something's wrong with the pulley, and I hope it's not the crank. I mean, it goes on there good. Once you tighten up the starter clutch, it's fine. But I'm just wondering now if I should just take this pulley off and use it on the other engine. I might just do that, and I'll do that off camera. So it's just a matter now of just, if you just bring the shroud back some, you can tilt it back, and then you can pop your belt off. Here, this is a new belt too, and then you just pull this whole thing off here, and we've gotten to that point now. Man, this thing's leaking oil all over the place. This top end here, I don't know if you can see it. Maybe up here. It's you know, shot. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna do that. And on part 3, I'll pull this engine off, and we'll put the donor engine on it. And I'll just bolt up. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Okay, so see these brackets here that you just saw me pull the shroud off? On the older ones, they're 3/8 studs. These have 1/2-inch studs. I guess as the years went on, Gravely just upgraded it to be a bigger stud. So we're going to be using all the bolts, nuts and bolts, and these brackets and everything. We're going to be using for the donor engine. So I guess that's going to be it on part 2 here. And we have problems, and I'm sorry that socket, I like that socket too, it worked good, you know. It's too bad it shattered like that. Why that was on there, it's so tight, I don't know. Like I said, we had this apart when I did the planetary gear for low and high gear, because it was stalling in low, and I don't know what happened from there. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on part 3, and stay safe.